Hey guys, so we're going to run you through a series of warm-ups. So the importance of a warm-up is it should prime you for a workout. So a lot of times people just jump on a treadie or maybe do a bit of cycling, but there's a lot more to it. There's 4 goals you need to satisfy. You need to increase your heart rate, increase your core body temperature, increase the range of motion in your joints, and activate the muscle groups that you're going to be used in that following workout. So we're going to give you a series of drills to perform, and then you can get to working out. Now we're going to do an activation circuit. So we have 4 different exercises we're going to work on. So the first one, we're going to be in a dead bug position. So we're going to lie flat on our back. We're going to put our arms up like Frankenstein, and then we're going to bring our knees over our hips and our legs we bent at right angles. So this is called dead bug because you look like a bug that's dead. So what we're going to do is with the yoga block, we're going to position it between your elbow and your thigh. So we're going to place it here. And what Eric is going to do, but you can't see him doing, is he's actually providing tension on either side of the block. So if I were to pull his elbow and knee apart, I actually can't. Oh, I could. He's got to push a bit harder. Yeah, cool. So what this is doing is just making sure we have some sort of tension on this side of the body. So with Eric's free side, he's now going to extend his arm and his leg at the same time. Nice. And then he comes back to his neutral position, which is the dead bug. And then he repeats. We're going to do this for 6 times each side. So the whole time Eric has to keep his low back flat on the floor. That's to prevent his tummy from not firing and letting his low back arch. And we want to make sure the yoga block is being pressed the entire time. So once Eric finishes 6 reps, he's going to switch side. He doesn't rush the position. And you'll also notice we want to keep our knee over our hip. We don't want to let this block shift towards our face. So Eric's going to be really disciplined. He's going to keep his knee over his hip. And the other thing you can see, which is worth making note of, is the movement speed. So you can see Eric's doing it really controlled. So you don't want to do 6 reps, just bop, bop, bop. You want to make sure you're really focusing on your core, keeping tension, and your low back staying flat during the entire movement. Great. Once we finish 6 each side, we're going to go into a 4-point kneeling position. Cool. So Eric's going to go on 4 points. He's going to stack his shoulders over his wrists, and he's going to have his hips over his knees. So the first thing we're going to do is a fire hydrant. So just like a dog goes to the bathroom, we're going to lift our knee to the side and then come back down to neutral. So there are a few things to take note. Eric's going to do 10 each side. One is we want to make sure we're getting some sort of range, but we don't want to do it at the expense of tilting towards me. So let's do one crappy rep, Eric. Exactly. So if Eric shifts towards me, he's not actually lifting his leg any higher. He's just moving his body to make it feel like his leg is going higher. So he'll do 10 each side, then switch. Good. And you'll also notice a common theme with this 4-point position is we want to keep our back in a fairly neutral position. So there's a tiny bit of an arch in Eric's lower back, which is normal, but we don't want to have an excessive arch, exactly, or we don't even want to curve. Right, good. So that's why the dead bug drill we did prior is quite good, because it sort of primes you how to use your core to keep a neutral position, and then you're adding a movement to it now. So you can't see it, but Eric's sort of keeping his core nice and tight throughout the entire movement. Great. Now we're going to stay on all 4s. And we're going to do a donkey kick now. What's that?
Do I want my elbows facing forward?
Yeah, great question. So a nice thing with all the sort of activation drills and warm-up drills is they can teach you a good habit for the workout. So we actually want our elbows facing towards us and the pits of our elbows facing forward. That's common in most of your pressing exercises. So it's good to make that a habit in the warm-up. Okay, next thing, let's do donkey kicks. So same position, 4-point kneeling. Now what we're going to do is extend our leg behind us. Exactly. You can keep a bent leg like Eric's done, which is keeping it close to 90, or you can straighten your leg. It's up to you. You just want to make sure, like we mentioned before, we keep our tummy nice and tight. So we're going to do 5 reps, and just like Eric did, we're going to hold it at the top for 3, 2, 3, and then come back down. Nice. We'll cue Eric to bring his tummy up a little bit. Nice, cool. And hold 1, 2, 3. Good, we got 2 more reps. So you can see we're adding elements to all the things we've done prior to. So we know how to activate our core. we sort of know when we do movement, we have to keep core activation, and now we're increasing the sort of distance our body's traveling from our body, which makes it a little bit more challenging. Then after Eric's done 5, he switches side.
For this one, do I want to not... Is it about how high I go?
No.
Or just about how...
So that's a great question too. So it's not really about height, it's about the right muscle activating. So with this movement, this is trying to fire our glutes. So we're trying to extend our hip. So extending our hip doesn't mean hyper-extending our hip. So if we were to go like that, we just lost this nice neutral curve in our back. So we'd rather keep it a lot more strict, and we still get that nice hip extension, but we also have good core stability and control in our midsection. Great, let's do our 5 reps. So this exercise is for your glutes. The fire hydrants are also for your glutes. And then our dead bug was for your core. Cool. And then to finish it up, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna place this band around your wrists. And we're gonna perform an isometric hold. So as always, we're gonna put ourselves in the right position first. You can see Eric just did it by habit. He set his shoulders back and down. So that's really important. Then he's gonna go palms facing up. Nice. He's going to have a 90-degree bend in his arms, and then he's going to try and pull the band apart by letting his shoulders externally rotate. And we're just going to count 20 seconds, and he's going to hold it. So this is an isometric hold. So instead of doing a dynamic movement with this particular activation drill, it's just going to be holding it for the entire time. And he's got 10 more seconds to go. And it's important with the isometric stuff, we want to keep whatever position we have the same. So if you feel like you're fatiguing, yeah, you might need to decrease the time. Done. Cool. So that's our 4 exercises.
Do I want to make sure that also that I don't...
Yeah, exactly. So let's do that again. So when Eric, a lot of times when people think about externally rotating their shoulders, you can feel like you're doing it, but actually arching your back. So we've got to be really strict. So just like before, we keep our tummy tight, and then we want to try and set our shoulders back and down, and then externally rotate. There we go. Cool. Nice. And we're looking nice and neutral. So let's do, if we wanted to get more range, how we could cheat. So we could, yeah, cool. You're pretty sensitive to it, so it might not feel, it actually feels wrong.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you might think, hey, I've got really good range, but if you look from a side profile, it's actually through a massive arch in your lower back. Cool, so that's activation stuff. So now we're gonna jump into mobility for 4 different exercises. Okay, we've just finished the 4 activation drills. Now we're gonna move on to mobility. So we're gonna start with a lunge and swing. So Eric's going to step back into a lunge, and then as he stands up, he's going to swing that back leg nice and straight. And this is a dynamic exercise. So what that means is we're actually combining a little bit of movement with a stretch. So you don't have to hold any part that long. We're just sort of working through the range. So as soon as Eric pretty much gets his back knee to the floor, he's going to stand back up. So we might actually tell Eric, let's get our knee to the floor and let's push our hips forward. Nice, that way we get a bit more of a hip flexor stretch. And then when we stand, we swing. Good. The other thing is when you stand and swing, you want to make sure your torso stays nice and long. So try not to meet your knee by leaning forward. Cool. And then again, is that 6?
Yes.
Cool.
Good luck.
Yeah, and then we switch side. So we got a hip flexor stretch as we go into our lunge. And then as we stand, we got a hamstring stretch. Good. Nice. Let's try and keep our base leg flat. Yeah? So our body does funny things when we're trying to go for height. So if I could only lift my leg here, if I go on my tippy toe, it makes me feel like I can go higher. Great. Cool. Now, next, we're going to do something for our adductors. So we're going to go into a push-up position. So this is quite good because we've done all the activation stuff. We already know the pits of our elbows should face forward, shoulders should be over our wrists. Now what we're going to do is a stretch. So we're going to bring one foot in line with our hands. And then we're going to let our hips sink to the floor and push our back heel to a wall behind us. Nice. And then we're going to go back to that push-up position and then switch side. We're going to do this for 8 each side. Good. So a nice thing to think about is, can you get your big toe to be neighbors with your pinky? That's what Eric's trying to do. So he's got pretty good flexibility. You might find it hard to get there at the start, but that's the eventual aim. Great. If you want to perform something that's a little bit more advanced, we can add a twist. So let's add a twist now, Eric. And
before we do that, when you say sink your hips,
yeah,
you don't mean like sink one side?
No, we want to keep our hips square.
Right.
Yeah, exactly like that. And then the reason why I said was straighten your back leg, it's just to line everything back up.
Right.
Cool. So it's sort of foot goes up, sink, and then straighten our back leg to make everything nice and tight. Cool. So let's add our twist now. Yeah. Good. Cool. And that actually flows quite well with what you just said. When we twist our upper body, we want to keep our lower body pretty square. That means we're moving through our thoracic. So this becomes quite a good thoracic mobility drill as well. Really nice. Great. Cool. And then when we finished our 8 each side, we stand up. Cool. And we're going to do a hamstring pump. So what that means is we're going to go into a squat position. Yep. We're going to hold on to our toes like you've done. And now what you're going to do is keeping your arms attached to your feet. You're going to let your hips go in the air. And it's going to be like a toe touch stretch. Exactly. Then your hips go down. Good. And then relax. So let's do 5 reps like this, and then let's do 5 reps facing me, and we'll show the guys an important thing about this movement. Cool, nice. And then let's face me now. Great. So you'll notice when Eric goes down into his squat, he actually sets his back quite nicely. So that's a nice little thing to get the hang of. It's making sure your back is neutral during during most of the movements. But Eric sort of wants to get a hamstring stretch, so as he pushes his bum up, he actually wants a rounded back. That's just part of the movement. But at the bottom of the squat, he's just going to self-correct by making sure that he can keep a neutral spine if he wants.
And I think what I'm doing is really engaging my core for this.
Cool.
So as I'm kind of proud chesting, engaging my core here, which is I guess why we activated.
Yeah, and this actually, let's stay there for a sec. This is actually a really good reason why this drill is quite good. If you now go into a prayer position and you just squat out of the hole, it actually sets you up for a perfect squat. So if you go toe touch now, let's stand up again, toe touch with crap form, then butt down, yeah, and then set yourself, you can squat out of the hole with great form. So for those at home that are finding it difficult to squat, this is actually a pretty good introductory drill. Right. Yeah, because it puts your butt down, you get low, but then you also learn how to set your back and keep your back set while you stand.
Cool.
Cool, okay. So we've done our 3 mobility exercises for our lower body. Now, because we're doing lots of pressing stuff in our BaseBlocks workouts, we've got to do something for our wrists. So let's just do our forward, backward wrist rockers. We'll do it for 15 reps. So, a few things. Eric's just going to start because he knows what he's doing, but you've got to make sure our shoulders are back and down as always, and the pits of our elbows are facing forward. Cool? Then we're just going to try and rock our shoulders in front of our fingertips, and then come back. So we're only going to the point of a little bit of discomfort. You don't want to push it too much. And this is one of those things that will just get better over time. So our idea is, when we press, our hand's going to be at close to a right angle. But if we don't have that mobility yet, it can potentially be quite painful. So in the mobility exercises, we want to get our body used to being comfortable in this 90 degree angle.
And also I want to go until the base of my wrist is about to lift off the floor.
Yeah, you don't want to let yourself...
You don't want to go here.
Yeah, and that goes to what we were talking about before, is you never want to sort of let something go to get a bit further. You always want to make sure we're stressing the right joint in a good way, or training the right muscle in the right way. Cool. So that's our 4 mobility drills. We've done our 4 activation drills. Now you're ready to work out.